Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. As you can see, I have someone really special with me, someone who knows what's happening on the western side of our border. Imran Khan has become quite a pain in the neck for the army. Of course, the army has controlled him to a large extent, but the question that we need to ask is this army today, is it together? And will Asim Munir, the current king of the army, be able to get his rule in place? Of course, the people have lost a bit, if I may, or a lot perception, confidence within the force. What will happen to this force in the future, which is the joining factor of the entire Pakistani army? Sir, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to learning from you quite a bit about what's happening in this mysterious little country of Pakistan.
Adi, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure to be in your show. And I look forward to our conversation.
Sir, simple little question. There is this guy has kind of created something in this country which a lot of people tried to do before. So I just want to open with a philosophical current situation analysis sort of a thing. Uh, Nawaz Sharif tried to go against the army, and there are videos of him abusing them and stuff like that. The Bhutto tried it. We all know what happened to him. Benazir tried it. All of these guys have put their hand. This guy took a couple of steps ahead than all of them. Although all of these guys, Nawaz Sharif and all of them hate him, but don't you think somewhere down the line they all think, yeah, wish we could get this far?
Yes, but the reason for this is not that he is, they didn't say whatever he is saying. The couple of factors why he has been far more successful than them. First of all, the pitch itself was prepared by the army. In the
Hmm.
run up to his winning the 2008 elections, the army created made sure the playing field was not level. They started off with the narrative that the other politicians were corrupt and here was Mr. Clean. And that is something which Imran Khan used to come into power and continue to be in power. So that was second. Secondly, he didn't have a political party. The army used his fan club because he was an extremely popular and successful cricketer. So it is basically a fan club that gradually became into a cult. And he was really a cult leader rather than a political head of a political party. There was no organization. All the original people who had helped him set up the PTI, thanks to, for what we hear, thanks to Bushra, maybe they were all got rid of, whether Jahangir Tareen, Alim Khan, this Mohsin Beg, uh, Babur Akbar, all these fellows were got rid of. And everybody else was the ones who the army engineered electables and brought into the PTI so he could win the elections. So they had no ideological commitment to him. Those who had left. But this made him believe that he is some sort of an avatar of the COM. The COM just loves him. He is so popular that whatever he says is going to be everybody falls in line. So there was no political party as such. And that also explains why, as a cult leader, he was able to push the envelope so much. In his hubris, he forgot that it was the army that had leveled brought him into power. Otherwise, there was no way he could have won the 2018 elections or become so powerful. So, because of that, he went much further than what the Bhuttos and the Sharifs could because of his fan following and the fact that the army was totally on the same page. In fact, I was reading that 3 years ago in one of these conferences of his party workers, he very you know, he boasted that the establishment cannot do without me. The army needs me. So, the situation just turned around in a year's time. So, when you get that kind of arrogance, then the fall is very near. I think that's what has happened to him.
This is interesting that you mentioned this, sir, because at the end of it, when we see Imran Khan, what he was able to do, post his removal, a lot of people kind of say that he is better in an opposition role rather than a leader role because he's more into this hangling and stuff like that. And of course, you're very right. The monster, Frankenstein monster was created by the army. Now, getting into this particular factor, so how deep is this cult? A cult is like a, for the lack of a better word, it's like a virus. You can't control it. It's an ideology. It just goes through, and which is a similar thing that we see in this ideology of radical Islamic terrorism.
You see, the cult, I don't think so, is broad based, middle class, young people. I'll come to the young people in a bit. But the fact is that they do not have that kind of perseverance and resilience that, let's say, the PPP demonstrated when they faced the brutal crackdown of Zia, the Jialas, they didn't break. Likewise, when Nawaz Sharif was under pressure from Musharraf, the party didn't break. They stuck with them. A lot of resilience. They were beaten, they were put into jails, and all kinds of ill treatment. This guy's people, his leaders, have barely spent 2 or 3 days in jail. He himself spent one night, and not even in a jail, but in a guest house, and he's climbing up the wall. So they lack the depth of a political worker. They're not siyasi karkun nahi hai. These are, as somebody said, mummy, daddy, burger crowd. Somebody put it very well. They don't have that resilience. They are middle class, and once they've shown the rough end of the stick, a lot of them have crapped up. Now, the youth is a very important factor. You see, about 44% of the voting population, people between the ages of 18 to 35, are the youth. There are 55 million voting cohort. So, if they were to exercise, and they're all largely supporters of Imran Khan, and if they were to exercise their franchise, they would make a huge difference in the elections. You see, especially in Punjab in the last 2018 general elections, 87 constituencies were won by a margin of less than 1,000 votes. Another 25 constituencies, the margin was 2,000 votes. And another 40 or 50 with the margin of a victory was 6,000 votes. And these were mostly in Punjab. Now you can, and this was the reason for this was also because there was a triangular contest. There was PPP, there was PTI, and there was the PMLN. So the margin of victory was extremely narrow. Now, if this youth activists who are supporting Imran Khan, if they were to come out and vote in large numbers, he would win hands down. Now, this is what he should have factored in and based his strategy on letting elections happen when they are due, rather than to demonstrate street power and try to force elections and come into power through the street. Now, you can't in a democracy, the democratic elected government. Why would any government resign just to satisfy him? The term finishes in August. They will say we'll carry out till August. Why should we resign now?
Yeah.
That's where he tactically went wrong. And so coming back to your question, they are an ideological. Because it's a fan club. The fan club does not have ideological moorings the way the PPP and the PMLN had. They had no resilience. They were not able to face the hardships. Otherwise, one after the other, everyday leaders are resigning, and that's very demoralizing. That's very demoralizing for the rank. So you see, earlier there were thousands of people in front of his house in Zaman Park, preventing the police from entering Zaman Park or arresting him. Today, apparently, there is nobody. Everybody is left, and he's alone and isolated in his house. So there again, it shows that the level of support is, so long as going is good. There are social media warriors sitting in drawing rooms, tweeting and stuff like that. But the nitty gritty and the hard grind of politics, I think you're still many, many years away from that.
It seemed like a very chalta hai, chalne do type effort, when this whole thing, because it's like a from both the ends. As a matter of fact, if I may make that comparison, that even the army did not seem that aware of what this guy's potential could be. A lot of analysts believe that this whole tamasha had a lot of the establishment hand in this and that, but they didn't still kind of war game the kind of support this guy will have, sir.
I think no. I think they probably knew the kind of support he has. You see, he himself had built up the narrative that he's going to be arrested and killed.
Yeah.
Now, in a cult, if you think that your leader is going to be killed, then everybody is emotionally charged and all. I think where the army, the intelligence agencies went wrong, they felt that these fellows are going to come to do a dharna outside the Corps Commander's house and a dharna outside the GHQ. Now, being in Punjab, they didn't want to use force to prevent a Punjabi crowd coming in front of a Punjabi armed force, you know. So they probably said, "ठीक है, आप धरने के लिए आ रहे हैं, let them protest. We will show that we don't mind. People can come and protest." That is where there was a huge miscalculation made because these people were coming not for a dharna, but they were actually coming to attack both the Corps Commander's house, the GHQ, as well as other military installations, the radio station in Peshawar, the Air Force base in Miawali, when they destroyed that aircraft. So their intentions, or they'd either be motivated, or some people knew what the actual agenda was. So the intelligence did not pick it up. The intelligence did pick up that from Zaman Park, these guys are marching towards the cantonment, but they thought it is coming for a dharna. But the dharna quickly transformed itself into looting and demolishing the house, the Corps Commander's house. And see what happened in GHU is they broke open the gate and the security cordon fell back about 100 yards. But they were there and armed. So the crowd saw that, and then the army also apparently called the police. That is, you better take care of this because if we shoot, then it will be shoot to kill. So then the police came, the police fired tear gas and dispersed the crowd in the GHU. But in the Corps Commander's house, they just barged in and he had called off his security cordon because he thought this is only going to be a dharna. But it changed very quickly from a dharna to a mob. And that's what happened. So I think it was a miscalculation on the part of the army and a lack of proper appreciation of what this crowd was about. And the crowd was charged because they thought that he's going to be killed. Because that's what he himself, you see, every 2 days he comes out with a statement that I'm going to be killed. When I go to the court, somebody's killing me. So you have the ridiculous situation of his going to court with a bucket on his head and people with these big shields all around him. I mean, yeah, you have to have some bravery, some strength of character. You can't masquerade as a sissy. That's what he was actually doing.
Yeah, well, so that's the beauty about it, and it's actually justified that yeah, oh nahi, usko threat hai and all that stuff. But anyway, so let's get.
But tell me, which other leader in the world has gone anywhere with a bucket on his head? I mean, it was ridiculous. He made an ass of himself.
I'm sure somehow getting ideas. So let's not prejudge because political leaders have kind of done some very, very silly things around the world. Yeah, this tops the list at the moment, sir. So, but I want to get to the beast. Now, and I'm going to be like a detractor from Pakistan, so kindly correct me. The hardline version of the anti-army camp in Pakistan would actually say that he is retired Lieutenant General Asim Munir. He does not have the claim to power. He's not been made to sit on the seat and this and that. Now that's a narrative again, and that goes year by year, and I'm sure it's going permeating down the army as well. Do you see this entire thing done by Asim Munir? Apart from this, he's been going around to all the the bastions of the army, telling them baat kar raha hai, sab kuch, all that stuff. Was this done within the army, that little, which is known as the Khamosh Mujahid, as the term goes? Were these all guys in that particular trap that yaar ye army chief theek nahi hai? Imran Khan theek bol raha hai, ye army chief theek nahi hai.
No, this is just basically PTI the trolls, PTI trolls. You see, the fact is that Imran Khan was petrified that Asim Munir should not become the chief. If you recall, right from April and May, when it was shown that Bajwa is not getting an extension. So Imran Khan went out on a limb to say, give Bajwa an extension till the elections are held, and then whichever government comes will appoint the army chief. Because he knew that Asim Munir is the senior most, he didn't want Asim Munir to become chief because of the bad blood. He had got rid of Asim Munir within 8 months of his becoming DG ISI because he came with a file to show the corruption of his wife Bushra Bibi. And Imran Khan had sacked him. So it was a bad blood. So Imran Khan was petrified if Asim Munir became chief, it will be curtains for him. So he got his trolls to float this idea that this chap is not fit. He is from the OTS. He's not even from the Kakul. He's not the PMA thing. Then they came up. Now the trend is that his entire family is Shia. They're not even Sunnis. Yeah. And then he's a retired lieutenant general because he was retired 2 days. You see, that is all nonsense. Once the government of the day, legally constituted government, issues an order promoting him as general before he retired, and then appoints him as chief of the army staff, that ends all arguments. Now, if they had a problem, they could have gone to court and challenged his. I think some efforts were made in the court, threw it out, or I don't know what, or like that. So, where is the doubt? Now, this is an extremely, now, this is getting Asim Munir's back up even more. If there was a possibility of some sort of a reconciliation or his allowing Imran Khan space, he's made sure that he will not, because he will say, Acha, you think I'm a retired Lieutenant General? This is how you're trolling me. You think I'm going to cut any slack for you? It is again technically stupid. And if he thinks that in the Pakistan army, somebody can uchalo this kind of a muck against the army chief and stage a coup against the army chief, I mean, they just don't know the Pakistan army themselves. It's not going to happen. Despite this Khamosh Mudayaj and that major sitting in London spewing venom, every day. It's good for listening to it. It's great for listening to it. But I think tactically, it was not a very successful strategy because then you've got the army chief's backup, and then the entire army as an institution will back the chief. Because if it happens to Asim Munir today, it can happen to the next chief tomorrow.
Anyone.
So they will not allow politicians that kind of liberty to target the army chief.
Yeah, that's the most important thing that a lot of us in India also forgot, because we got really excited with the propaganda against the army chief, and we forgot the fact that the institution at the end of it will protect itself.
Yeah, of course. And then the other rumors he floated: the 3 corps commanders are not following Asim Munir's orders, or the chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee Shamshad Mirza has taken over in a coup, and Asim Munir may not even come back to the country from Qatar or Oman or wherever he was. So this is all has backfired in a manner that's going to hurt Imran.
So, but in any case and scenario, one of the things that we actually note is the army cracking down hard within Punjab. The kind of stuff which is being reported, even by the Reporters Without Borders and Voice of America, and many actually people within Pakistan today are talking about, women being arrested, which has never happened before within the country. They've never put that kind of a hand on a woman. I mean, they would arrest them, they would put them inside, but the way that the treatment has been done, or the software update as they call it, is a bit harsh. That has to permeate within the force. How do you think the army itself is internalizing the factor that what we used to do in Balochistan, in Sindh, not in Sindh, but Balochistan, in the frontier, and probably in there Kashmir, is today happening on the streets of Lahore and Islamabad?
See, I don't agree with you there. I mean, why has this reaction taken place? And where has the reaction, where has the action been taken which has provoked this reaction? You see, one statement of Asim Munir was very significant. I think make it in Sialkot or Lahore. He said, we cannot accept, which is not condolable or pardonable, the effort to drive a wedge between the people and the army. And this is what Imran Khan tried to do, trying to drive a wedge between the people and the army. The army's strength is the people. And if you try and drive a wedge, second, they attack the symbols of army's dominance. The GHQ is the sanctum sanctorum of the Pakistan. Corps Commander Lahore is probably the most important corps in Pakistan. And then they demolished and vandalized the statues of the martyrs. The people who have given their lives for Pakistan, their statues and their monuments were vandalized. So this is something which is totally unacceptable to the army, the rank and file of the army. हमारे अगर कल हम शहीद होंगे और हमारे लिए कोई a memorial is made and somebody comes and shatters it. So I don't think so they're going to be upset with the reaction even in Punjab. In fact, it's in Punjab where all this has been done, all the damage has been done, except for that 1 or 2 incidents in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Most of the vandalism was done in Punjab. So the reaction of the army is strong in terms of picking up people, trying them under the Army Act, and even women. For example, this lady Khadija Shah, whatever, Khadija Shah, who was the granddaughter of the former army chief Asif Nawaz Janjua. She was leading the protest or the attack on the corps commander's house.
Yes,
so they're going to make an example. that not even somebody who is connected to the army is going to be spared. So, irrespective of what other human rights organizations and people may say, the army is. You see what has happened. Let me read you a quote.
Please.
You know, why does the army rule? So, Major General Sher Ali Khan Pataudi told General Yahya Khan in 1969 that the key to the army's dominance was the army's ability or the army's perception being perceived by the people as a mythical entity, a magical force that would succor the people in times of need when all else failed. The army was the final guarantor of Pakistan and its well being. Now, what Imran Khan has done is to break or seriously dent that charisma, that magical entity. How does the army restore, get that entity, that charisma back in the eyes of the people? It can do so in one of two ways. A, cracking down very hard on the people who did this. And in Punjab, people will appreciate strong action. Other thing is you attack India. I don't think so they're in a position to do anything with India right now.
They tried
So,
it.
yeah. So this is where the army and Asim Munir, you see, they were, I think, from the 9th to about the 12th or the 13th. Asim Munir was on shaky ground. But then he has come back very strongly. He's managed to get a grip on the corps commanders, the special corps commanders meeting when they decided to go on the Army Act, and to crack down very heavily. Because, they cannot accept this to happen again. If Imran Khan keeps mobilizing crowds and they go and attack once again, so they have to set an example today. And a lot of people say that when Imran Khan had attacked the PTV station, when he was in opposition, I think in 2016, this would not have happened if strong action was taken then. But because he was allowed to get away, in May 22 when he burnt those trees of Islamabad, again in November when he staged the long march. So, Imran Khan's got the impression that he has protection, he has impunity, he can do what he likes. So, therefore, this action is being taken now, very strong action, maybe even more severe than required. But the army is going to make sure that they teach these Yuthias, as they are called, a lesson that they or anybody else will not forget, that you can't mess with the army in this manner. Peaceful protests the army would have tolerated if they staged a dharna, even if they staged a 10 days dharna in front of the corps commander's house, it was fine. It's okay. But to go and burn his house down and steal his property and guy in track pants pleading with them not to, that is something, the aura of the army, the charisma, as I mentioned, has been very badly bruised. And it'll take the army years to scrub this from the memory of the people because it's gone viral. People will keep playing this up at the drop of a hat.
We'll get to that. So we'll get to that. How will he repair? I want to identify the problem first. The problem, and you've kind of hinted to the problems. Of course, Imran Khan is a big one. The civil society and that thought process that Imran Khan has been able to instigate is a big one. Now I'm going to ask you a sort of a.
There's a third one, if I can just say it here. You
Sure.
see, the third issue is the cohesion of the Pakistan army. Now, Imran Khan tried to dent that, to create a wedge.
Yeah.
Apart from domestically, internationally, since the nuclear button is with the army, I think China, US, Russia, India, all of us are equally worried that if the army's cohesion breaks, if there is a civil war kind of a thing, I don't think the civil war will happen, a revolt within the army. But in case it does, what happens to the nuclear button? So therefore, this was the other problem, that everybody was looking at it very, very. The Chinese foreign minister, who was 3 days before, was in Pakistan, and he said, "Get your act together. Go in for political cohesion, sort out your problems, so that you can focus on the economic issues." That is the first time ever a Chinese leader has publicly castigated Pakistan.
Or any other country for that matter.
Yeah. So this was something which was, all weather, higher than Himalayas and sweeter than honey kind of relationship. There was once earlier also with the Pakistan embassy, and the Chinese embassy in Islamabad that issued a stinging criticism of when they couldn't get their route. There was a controversy over the route of CPEC. And the Chinese embassy had issued a strong statement again, maybe 2016 or 2007, something like that. And this is the second time, but this time was very serious because there was a foreign minister Now,
verbally said that.
yeah. So the cohesion, that's the third issue. The cohesion of the Pakistan army and the impact it has on the international community vis-a-vis the nuclear weapons.
Now, sir, this army is, of course, based on a lot of political loyalty, military loyalty, and I'm putting political loyalty right at the beginning because at the end of it, we know it's a very highly politicized army. It's about factions, and that one faction kind of takes the cake, and they become the leaders, and the rest of the formations kind of conform. So it is a political entity. I'm open to correction to that, sir. So political entity, it's an economic entity, which is, I think, the most important entity that they want to maintain, because that's where the money is at the end of it. And of course, it is a military entity in itself, which has pride of what it's done during the Zarbe-Azam and all these operations and stuff like that. And in their mind, the operations that they won with India as well. Just these three factors. Now, politically speaking, when we talk about all this Gutism, which forms in the army, now this is a dangerous point because you have certain inborn people who will probably be sympathetic to what Imran Khan is going through within the army.
I don't agree. I don't think so. It is a political army. I think the groupism which you talk about. See, everybody has favorite. You have a favorite cricket team. You have a favorite hockey team. You can have
Yeah.
a some. But this kind of groupism which you are indicating about people, the only groupism is there of the chief and the corps commanders. Everybody falls in line with that. I think that is the most. They're not. It's not a political. It's not a political army in the sense of having favorites among the political parties. Yes, they may vote for a political party, but not the kind of groupism which you are saying. It's a
Okay.
political army because it interferes in politics. That it does political engineering to make sure that their favorite politicians. But that is a corporate decision of the army. The army decide, okay, we have enough of the Sharifs, enough of the Bhuttos. Let's bring in Imran Khan. That's a corporate decision.
So
It's
there's no
political.
morality or emotion or anything which is
No,
involved.
no,
It's
they
a
just feel.
practical.
See, first of all, the army has total contempt for politicians, and this has been documented. I've documented in my first book.
Yeah.
There's the
First
contempt. They
book.
feel that if left to themselves, the politicians will sell the country down the way. So they have to rein the politicians in, especially where security issues are concerned. Right? So they do political engineering, which they have been doing for the last 70 years, to see that this politician can come in and then he will look after the economic interest, the social interest, and things like that. But otherwise, this groupism which you mentioned in the army of being of politicians. You see, the other thing is that I may support, let's say, in the Pakistan army, one uh, general may support Imran Khan. But that does not mean that he's going to get his troops to mutiny against the leadership of the army. Support is one thing, sympathy is one thing. But to actively pursue it, to pick up the gun in one battalion fighting against the other, I don't think so that's going to happen in the Pakistan army. It won't.
Have there been incidents of this kind before, sir?
There have been sporadic incidents of revolt led by a small coterie of people.
Mhm.
There have been, you know, several times in the past. But that is very, very limited. It was not, there have been in the Navy, for example, there have been even in the Army. I've documented this in my book. I forget, I can't recall the specific incident, but they are
There's one
documented there.
brigadier you spoke about who tried this twice.
Yeah, Abbasi, months I think.
Abbasi.
Then he was picked up and court-martialed and things. So, but it's very, very limited. I won't say there's a whole scale. The only one time there was a serious was after the 71 war, where the corps in Bahawalpur, which had not been deployed in the war, those people were extremely upset at the way the Pakistan army had collapsed in the east and the surrender. So they wanted to march to Islamabad and get rid of Yahya Khan. Then calmer sense prevailed, and they sent about 3 or 4 officers who talked to Gul Hassan, who was the chief of general staff, and they said, "Look, Yahya Khan has to go, otherwise there is going to be mutiny." So then better sense prevailed, and then Yahya Khan afterward left. That was the only incident that I recall of this happening. But that was because of the defeat in war. To think that the army will behave, or section of the army will behave like Yuthias and come out in support of Imran Khan against their brother officers, I don't see that happening. Also, a practical situation. The army knows, or officers know, that their privileged position in Pakistani society is because the army as an institution dominates the polity. If they attack that institution of the army, what happens to them? They'll be the ones who will be, defeated. They will lose all their perks and privileges. So why would
Economic.
anyone, for his own self-interest, demolish the very institution that is giving him these perks and privileges?
Now, which is what brings me to the second part. So, the economics part of it. The army will do whatever it takes to make sure that that economic structure is put together. And that's in the interest from right down below to the lowest ranks, right to the general, because all of them get a lot of benefits out of it. Some people get land, the as they call it, plotistan, and there's a whole lot of connotations to this. We know what the allocations are and stuff like that. So that's a huge motivation for the army to kind of cohese the country. After touching upon this economics, the military part of it, we'll then go to the part where I will ask you how he will do it. But this economics, how significant a part do you think this economic benefit coming into the ranks of the army play within the effort to kind of keep this whatever the system, keep it going?
I think it plays a very strong part. You see, because these three foundations, Fauji Foundation, Bharia Foundation, and Shaheen Foundation, Army, Navy, Air Force, so many retired officers get post-retirement placements here. It's very lucrative. They make not all of them are making money. A lot of them are loss making, but they don't pay any tax. All that money gets plowed back, from the army, the logistics, national logistics cell. They make everything from fertilizer to cornflakes to ghee, the work. So that's a huge conglomerate of the army. They're not going to lose it. They also realize at the end of the day that if the army is demolished or the army is weakened, the politicians and the businessmen will try and hive off portions of that. Because everybody eyes that, that it's a real chicken laying the golden egg. So army will not like this to be hurt, or their interest to be hurt at all. So that's true. The economic interests of the army are very important.
To me, that's like the premise of everything. It's like the mafia who will say, boss, whatever it is, the business has to continue.
Yes,
And
but the
that's
business continues because the army has got a privileged position. If
yeah,
tomorrow that privileged position was hurt, which is what Imran Khan was trying to do, they will not be able to sustain this kind of economic model of growth of the army.
absolutely. Now coming to the third, military part. So now here is an army which is basically taking casualties every day. Not from now, they've been doing it now for the past 2 years. Every day, spot on. And it's not just one odd chap here and there. Sometimes it's up to about 20, 25, 30 people. During the time when this 9th May thing was happening, one camp was taken over by some chaps in Balochistan.
Yeah.
So it's not that it is facing victories on the battlefield. It's facing a lot of defeat, a lot of death, a lot of coffins coming back, a lot of body bags coming back, and of course, how far do you think this army can sustain something like this? Of course, there are large armies, 6, 7, 8 lakh people, uh, but getting daily body bags does take an effect on the morale of an organization, combined with social unrest within the country, which is also affecting the families of these soldiers. How do you
Yeah,
think that
I'm
kind
sure that is
of
certainly is a problem, especially as you mentioned, after the Taliban took over in Kabul and the TTP got a second wind, and they've tied up with some Baloch groups also in Balochistan. So the TTP insurgency is now Fatah, KPK, they've hit even Miawali, in Punjab, in Balochistan, Islamabad also. So yes, it's a big problem. It's a big problem for the army to tackle the internal security situation, and there are problems also with the Taliban. Over the Durand line, the Taliban accusing them of allowing the US to use their airspace for drones. That's another issue that is between the Taliban and Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. So it is it's a multiple fronts. Except that the insurgency, both in Fatah and in Balochistan, is at a low level. It is not an open insurgency. If the army has not been able to carry out or does not want to carry out another operation like they did in Zarbiaz, because I don't think so the people want to become IDPs again in Waziristan and other places. You can't push out 2 or 3 million people out of their homes every couple of years. They had managed to do it because of the Peshawar school attack, the whole atmosphere was initiated and charged. They were able to do it then. I don't think they will be able to do it again. So, and then since the TTP has got sanctuaries in Afghanistan without taking care of the sanctuaries, and without the American drone strikes that took out the bulk of the leadership of the TTP, I don't think so the Pakistan army is going to be very successful. Therefore, they have not launched a full-scale operation just yet. They know that peace talks with the TTP have failed because the demands of the TTP are such that it will mean demerger of FATA from KPK and allowing TTP their own sort of some form of governance in FATA, which is something that the government cannot allow. So it is a problem, but I don't think so it is that serious a problem that the army will focus totally. I think the army is also focused, as you rightly mentioned, on the political situation which is happening as a result of Imran Khan's thing. I think they will want to take the casualties but settle the political because they can't afford to have Imran Khan coming back into power.
Both sides.
Yeah,
It'll be a two front for them then.
yeah, it'll be too front for them.
So let's talk about the people now. The whatever said and done. I mean, the disasters that the army has put them through, straight from the time that they got created, for the first martial law, second, third, fourth, fifth, and a lot of people say that they've been at a martial law since post Musharraf. Even a lot of people say that since Bajwa came in, things as Bajwa and Imran combination started up, the martial law started that day because it was the army controlling everything at that time. So this hybrid regime and stuff like that. Now the people have gone through a lot, and today they're whatever said and done, they had food to eat, they had a shelter, some amount of jobs, some money coming around here and there and stuff like that. So they also said, "Chal theek hai yaar, फौज है, बैठी है, ठीक है, हमारी फौज है." When that thing stops, when the basics daily stop, the frustration that we saw on the streets, is this purely about Imran Khan, or is this also got to do with regards to the army taking in the maximum amount of money and there being nothing for the civilians on the street?
You see, it cuts both ways. I think everybody in Pakistan would like that a civilian government should exercise 100% power. People don't want the army interfering in politics.
Sir.
Yet at the same time, they will not accept the army institutions being attacked. I mean, people in Pakistan are very proud of the army. You know, they really like the army a lot because, especially in Punjab, you know, almost, I won't say every home, but so many homes have got people in the defense forces for generations. You know, especially in central Punjab and northern Punjab, and now a little bit from south Punjab. So the army has a lot of respect. The very famous Punjabi saying, you know, especially to the British, where the sister is singing this song, and the saying is, "Agge agge veer mera, piche fauja angreza di." You know, that is, in front is my brother. Agge agge veer is brother. Agge agge veer mera, and behind him are the British army. Piche piche fauja angreza di. So that is the kind of respect the army commands in Punjab. So they have been, I think, pretty demoralized and shocked by this attack which the PTI has done on the army institutions. So there is one aspect that they don't want army interference in politics, but they will also not allow anybody to attack their army, which they are so fond of. So it's a bit of a contradictory situation, both sides of this. Now, as far as the economic unrest and economic condition is concerned, I don't think so. People blame the army. They blame the political government. First, they blamed Imran Khan. If you recall, Imran Khan, when he came with this saying that the situation is very bad, but aapne ghabrana nahi. And within 1 year, people say कि अब तो हमें घबराने दो, you know, because he couldn't manage the economy, and he is the one who rammed the economy to the ground. And the PDM government has just carried forth because they haven't had any good ideas. The one finance minister who was good, Nifta Ismail, he was replaced by Ishaq Dar, who's an accountant. You know, and he hasn't been able to manage the economy. So people blame the government more than they blame the army. So I don't think so. They are against the army because of the economic mismanagement. Yes, they were upset with the army for having brought in Imran Khan in the first place. Because when Imran Khan failed, they said, who brought him in? It was the army that brought in Imran Khan. So that anger was directed against the army. But today with the PDM government, the anger is not against the army as such. The reason the army installations were attacked, as I mentioned, was because Imran Khan had created this narrative.
Instigated it, yeah.
He instigated कि देखो मुझे they're going to kill me. So when a cult leader goes, and also if you see the number of people even in Lahore and all that, what 400-500 nuts. On the other hand, when the Maulana comes out, or when he came
Ooh,
out in front of the Supreme Court, those guys, those that is the real crowd,
force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Danda
Jamaat
Bardar
Islami
force.
in the, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all the madrasa students and all. And as somebody said, जब हम आएंगे इस्लामाबाद, तो ये मम्मी डैडी बर्गर क्राउड सब भाग जाएगा.
Sorry, sir, but you're saying students?
Madrasa students.
They look, I did, they look like students.
But
I
they are
mean,
political workers and so see,
it was,
Maulana Fazlur Rahman's strength is the madrasa students. Because bulk of
I
the
mean,
madrasas in KPK and Balochistan are all JUI, Deobandi madrasas.
light-hearted humor, sir. But when I saw that photograph, I got petrified. I'm like, oh, that
Yeah.
is,
And they're dispersed peacefully. They're a very disciplined crowd.
yeah, they're standing
And
hand
then
in hand, and this and that, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
and then
They
if you see the TLP, Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, which is the Barelvi side of it. When they came and when Imran Khan was the Prime Minister, they came and sat in Faizabad between Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Those were a frightening crowd too.
Yep.
So it's the religious parties which are really they are quiet so far, in terms of the economic unrest. But the
So
economic situation is bad. Since you talked about it, the economic situation is really bad.
yeah, it is. But somebody's paying them because their foreign reserves had come down to like $3 billion and stuff like that, and now suddenly
No,
they're at 9.36. So some
no,
money
I
is
think
coming from
because
somewhere.
the Chinese have given them 2 billion, the Saudis have given them 2 billion, the
Yeah.
UAE. But see where I think Western economists, a lot of analysts make a mistake is that the support network in the rural areas, the informal economy is very strong. You see, in a feudal society, in a feudal setup, it is a landlord who will look after the people on his farm. It may not be extremely good quality, but sustenance is there. And that is where how they are surviving, even though the economic conditions on paper look so bad. Malnutrition, food not available, atta riots, and all that. But this is the support networks in the urban areas. Almost every house in Lahore, Pindi, Islamabad, other big cities will have 4 or 5 domestics, with 1 or 2 drivers, maids, servants, and all that, and they're all looked after by the family. That's how people are surviving, even though on paper the conditions are so bad. According to Dawn, 7 million people have been thrown out of jobs in the textile sector alone.
Yeah.
The 5 people per family, that's about, uh, you know, 35 lakh people.
And people are still suffering from the floods and this and that, so there's that
Yeah.
that 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 thing is not gone away. I have just two small questions. After that, guys, please start sending in your questions, loads of them here. This topic generates a lot of interest, of course, and this is a different story. We're asking a big two small big questions which are coming in, which are the main crux of it. Guys, like the video, subscribe, please push this out to your friends and family, people who are interested in Pakistan, and that is pretty much 90% of the country, who wants to know and find out what's actually happening there. So please push this thing out. There's no better speaker with regards to the mentality of Pakistan than sir, because who studied this place in various different capacities during his life, and of course the books, very very interesting. I mean, I've read the Pashtun book that actually blew me off, and we've done a show on this as well. So please do check that out as well. If you want to contribute to the Dev Talks effort, the QR code is right there, or you can send us a super sticker or super chat. So the people is where the army draws its, it's the constituency of the army. At the end of it, the constituency of Imran Khan and the constituency army is in some places probably overlapping. In some places, you will find it to be the same. For example, the case of Khadija. For example, the case of Air Commodore Sajid Haider, and multiple such retired Faujis who. So there's that overlapping constituency. How do you think Asim Munir is going to be trying to fix that as a to bring them back towards his side? Because at the end of it, force will work. There's no question about it. The force and this thing, and it's already working. We can see that. Will that be the game, or will there be something else?
No, I think the what the army is trying to do, or the army has done, and a lot of other networks also, you know, is trying to say that listen, you have demolished or you have vandalized, as I mentioned earlier, monuments of martyrs. Now, in Punjab, that has a lot of resonance. That you've attacked the symbols. That without the Pakistan army, everybody accepts that without the Pakistan army, Pakistan is a very, very fragile state. You have damaged the army. So I think Imran Khan, what I don't know what he was trying to do. Did he think that the army will revolt against Asim Munir, the army chief? That did he think that I think very shallow thinking. So this is something which has resonated amongst the people. That look, we can't do this to our army. ठीक है, Imran Khan, cult figure, very popular, this, that, and the other. But this was the wrong thing to have done. And if the army is cracking down and is going to try these people and punish them, they are not going to be, the army will not lose support. In fact, strong action by the army, or, the kind of speech he's supposed to have given in Sialkot, people expect to see that from an army chief. Sepai Salar, they want a tough, strong chap who will not take any nonsense and will go and meet the families of the martyrs, reassure them that the army is behind them and that the Pakistan army is intact and he is in command. So I think he's clawed, the army is certainly, according to my perception, the army has clawed back space, and Asim Munir will become even stronger in September when the next round of retirements of 3 stars take place, and he'll be appointing at least 5 or 6 3 stars, his own people. Not that the other corps commanders are not his people, but they'll be his appointees. He can put them into different slots. So his position is going to become strong, and the people will come around it. The charisma of Imran Khan has damaged himself. I think Asif Zardari made a very perceptive statement recently when he said, Khan has defeated Khan. By his actions, Imran Khan is defeated.
Yeah.
So whatever the high pedestal, the high moral ground of being a Murshid, he has demolished that. And it will take him some time, much longer, to claw back his space. Because, when people hear his medical report, the guy was taking cocaine, was taking alcohol. There was no fracture. Their plaster was a total fraud. And people have seen him walking. That when he went to court,
Yeah.
he was on a wheelchair, and an hour later he was walking to the prison van. So people say that bilkul fraud hi hai, So that also people, these hardcore supporters, as I mentioned, the mummy daddy crowd, that will continue to be his supporters. But I don't think so. At the end of the day, they are the people who will really matter on the street.
The funny thing that I want to ask you, and this is something I keep thinking about, so is the mindset of Pakistan. Uh, they've got this messiah complex, and I always try and analyze it from that angle. Of course, there are multiple angles I've thought about, but this one kind of fits the narrative a little bit, sir. And I'll just lay it out to you in 20 seconds. Messiah complex, somebody will come and help us out becoming the power of the world, right? Up now that somebody can be the army chief. It was the army chief, Fauji, and all that till now. Now a lot of these, Insafians, as they've termed themselves now, is that Imran Khan aa jayega, sab kuch theek ho jayega, right? The minute he comes, everything will.
God bless.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It started raining here, so temperature suddenly drops. So,
Okay.
so Imran Khan aa jayega, sir, sab kuch theek ho jayega, and nobody asks how. And that's the messiah complex that I keep trying to understand. That is this country completely lost their minds, that you will get a guy who has no plan for the future, nothing. Not that the other guys have anything, not that the army chief is a great economist or he will just flip this thing around. They have no options, but they still want to stick to this. Help me understand this self-destructive mindset of, I would say, everyone in Pakistan except for a barring very few people, and I'll include the army in this, sir. How do you explain this?
But this is started from 1947 when Jinnah So I was working towards the Pakistan movement, and people asked him what kind of a state will be Pakistan. He said, "Don't worry about that. We will sort that out. Pehle Pakistan banne do." This started from there. So people said, "Ah, Pakistan ban jayega, then we'll all become better Muslims and Jannat and stuff like that." Then he passed away. Then it became Liaquat Ali. So Pakistan has been in search, as you mentioned very rightly, of a messiah right from 1947 onwards. Why do you think Bhutto was so popular? Because his slogan "Roti, Kapda aur Makan." People said even today you can get vote in Sindh on just on the name of Bhutto. You
Yeah, I
know
mean, we have
the
people
Jialas.
standing there.
So then it became Bhutto. Then it became Nawaz Sharif. Then it became Benazir. Because the conditions in Pakistan are so bad, and people have not had good news, as it were. They are desperate to anybody who can give them some good news and resolve some of their problems. So they invest heavily into every leader that comes. And the leaders themselves play on this. कि मैं आ गया तो बस, I am the one. I am the leader. None of them are Democrats. Imran Khan certainly is a total fascist. He is not a Democrat at all. He doesn't even want to talk to the opposition. He can't bear to be in the same room as the opposition leaders. So he's a total fascist and autocrat. In fact, if he were won a two-thirds majority, he will implement a presidential form of government. In fact, he, as somebody wrote, he considers himself as king. That he is Badshah, and not an elected prime minister who has a political party. So Pakistan does have this because the problems are such. In my first book, I mentioned this. I don't know if I told you when we talked last time. So I'd asked this question: that is Pakistan then ungovernable, or are its leaders incapable of governing Pakistan? That was a central problem of Pakistan, that the leadership has failed consistently, and they've all been, busy making money for themselves. You look at the one contrast between India and Pakistan. All Pakistani politicians have got homes in London or Dubai or elsewhere. All their money, everything is parked there. They all go and stay. They're either in power in Pakistan or they're in London in exile. Which leader in India ever goes to London or Dubai to settle down over there? Nobody. Everybody is invested
Not
here.
even one person. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody is invested here. But there, so Pakistani people are desperate for a leadership, somebody who can show them the light, somebody who can pull them out of the abyss in which they are sinking deeper and deeper every day.
That's a very interesting perception, sir, because I've never been able to figure out that how is a country, and they are not stupid people. I mean,
Yeah, they're bright. Some of
they're
them are
pretty.
very bright.
I read them. I read what they say. I read what they write. Dawn specifically, some of the people who write columns there, you wonder, my God, this is the kind of brain that these people are sitting on.
Yeah.
You see people like Aisha Siddiqa, you see people like Hoot Boy, and all these guys. They're brilliant chaps. But then you have this society which is, you know, uh,
Because these people don't matter. These people are good for the English chatterati. They don't matter as far as the political parties in Pakistan are what? They're all electables of a district. There's one guy who's prominent in a particular district.
yeah,
One
feudal.
year he'll join the PTI, one year he'll join the PMLN, one year join the PPP, and the party forms around him. No party is a democratic party that will be holding elections right from the bottom till the top.
Yeah,
Where leaders throw up grassroots leaders.
yeah,
So the
yeah, yeah.
intellectual content, if in every political party in Pakistan is very poor. They don't have think tanks. In fact, there's a famous statement of Gohar Ayub when he was Speaker of the National Assembly. He said one day he called for the library to register who are the people who go to the library. He said hardly 1% of the members of the National Assembly visited the library, and that also to pick up magazines. Nobody was looking at books, doing in depth. Army is the only institution that has a think tank, where serious studies are undertaken. Politicians don't have that. And yet, among, as you mentioned, the Dawn is one paper which has got some very good writers and op-ed pieces. People think, but their
They're not.
policy prescriptions, they're not consulted.
I have so many more questions, and this could go on for the whole evening. But let's get into what the audience has to say, and probably if I'll be able to interject one or two things if our thoughts match, which I see a couple of questions in. So I'm quite enthusiastic about it, guys. Let's see what you all have to say. Harshdeep, thanks so much for your question. He says, "Good evening, Tilak sir and Adi. Tilak sir, a huge fan. Just wanted to ask, what will we see Pashtun Tasawwuf movement? When that will we see the Pashtun Tasawwuf movement? Will it be armed and will it be weaponized in the future?"
I don't think so. I think the Pashtun Tahafuz movement is a peaceful movement. It is not a political party. In fact, Mansoor Pashtun has deliberately stayed out of politics, so that's why Mohsin Dawar left and set up his own political party. They are fighting a very strong and a difficult battle. That is that they don't want Pashtuns to be used as cannon fodder for Pakistan's foreign policy goals. They don't want to be used as jihadis in Afghanistan and to spread whatever the Pakistan Army's objectives are. So they are fighting a political movement. I don't see them picking up, they have the similar kind of training that the Khudai Khidmatgars had. In fact, they're carrying forward that legacy of non-violence and not picking up the gun, despite whatever provocations are taking.
All
So
right.
far,
I
they've.
think there's a little bit of a challenge somewhere with regards to network. Anyways, we'll try and fix this back. Sir, you're back. Okay, fantastic. You said I don't, and we got cut off. So
Okay, no, I said I don't think that the PTM is going to. It's not an armed movement. It's not even a political party. It's a movement that is seeking to ensure that Pashtuns don't get used anymore as cannon fodder for Pakistan's foreign policy goals. They don't want to be used as jihadis. In Afghanistan, they want the same kind of constitutional and civil rights that the other nationalities of Pakistan enjoy. And they are carrying on the tradition of the Khudai Khidmatgars of non-violence. So I don't see them picking up the gun. It's very easy the easiest thing for a Pashtun is to pick up a gun. Everybody has a gun over there. But they have deliberately stayed away from picking up a gun. You see, if they pick up the gun, it's very easy for the Pakistan Army to go after them. But they don't pick up the gun, the Pakistan Army doesn't know how to handle them. Pakistan Army has never known how to handle a non-violent civil war.
So John says, Harshdeep, why? And there's a counter question. I found it quite interesting. Why weaponize the PTM when you have the TTP?
A good point. Good point. You see, at some stage, you will find that there will be a confluence between the PTM and the TTP, despite their extremist ideologies. The TTP believes in Sharia, but of late, the TTP is also taking a Pashtun nationalist line by saying that we want demerger and we want this own area, and they're pushing the Pashtun nationalist line. The Taliban are already pushing a nationalist line by not accepting the Durand line. So if you ask a Pashtun in Afghanistan, they will say, "Hamara border to atakta hai." Where does Pakistan come from? So, and the PTM has not come out clearly articulating nationalist rights because they believe in the constitution of Pakistan. But it depends on how now Pakistan tackles them. If Pakistan pushes the PTM against the wall and keeps harassing them and keeps oppressing them because they are a softer target, you never know where it will go.
So Naveen says, and I think I asked the first part of this question, but I'll read it out. We've seen successive PMs take the fight with the army to greater levels, although he failed. Imran Khan did manage to cause some issues within the army ranks. So we've discussed this. The second part is interesting when he says, will that trend continue? Will a future prime minister be able to successfully challenge and prevail of the army? Perhaps an Imran Khan 2.0?
You see, it is possible, provided the Imran Khan or whichever leader comes up has a party which is a political party and not a personal fiefdom. The reason why politicians in Pakistan are failing consistently is because they are not sure of their own position and strength. If you don't have a party organization from the grassroots level onwards, you cannot challenge the army. Then you have to have intellectual content. You need to have a program. You need to be able to provide relief to the people by successful governance. You cannot have corruption and keep siphoning off the money, because then the army, which keeps files in every politician, can manipulate you anytime. Now, that's a very tall ask for the current lot of politicians in Pakistan. So I don't see this being a successful challenge till the politicians themselves don't get their act together, and not necessarily one political party. If you have a person like Sheikh Rashid or Parvez Ilahi, who are dying to get co-opted by the army in any kind of government, you'll always have politicians. The army will always find politicians who will do their bidding. So the political class in Pakistan has to change. The political class in Pakistan has to, like the Charter of Democracy, which the PPP and the PMLN signed in London way back in 2008, that had the glimmer of some sort of a united political action by political parties against the dominance of the army. What Imran Khan did was he challenged the army on the one hand, but he refused to co-opt the other political parties. He was fighting with the political parties, other political parties, and also the army. I mean, any sensible general knows that if you have two enemies, you take on one first, defeat him, then
One
move
at a
on to the
time.
second. You taking on both simultaneously, you're going to fall flat in the middle. And this is what has happened to him.
Ek Tha Double. Okay, interesting name. It suits that the Pakistan. It suits Pakistan's perpetually boils as of now. But Imran Khan's days are numbered. It seems there is no other megalomaniac in sight who would take forward this our cause.
Yeah, that's a good point. Uh, I think you don't have to worry about that. Pakistanis will always find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. And where India is concerned, I think we've gone beyond the stage of wanting somebody like Imran Khan to come back again. I think he's done enough damage to last for at least a decade uh, inside Pakistan. And the way Pakistan is going at the moment, these are some of the things I mentioned last time about the weak factors, water, economy, population,
Yes, sir.
and education. The long-term threats of Pakistan are so serious that nobody in Pakistan is paying attention to them. They are looking at the immediate political situation between Imran Khan, the army. There are medium-term issues: the security crisis, the economic crisis, the government judiciary crisis. But below all that is this non-traditional security threats which are eating the innards of Pakistan. Water. What do you do when you run out of water? By 2025, according to the Pakistan Council of Research in Water, they're going to become an absolute water scarce country in a couple of years down the road. So even if you don't have anybody who can take up our cause, you can leave Pakistan will be shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah, and I know water is one of your favorite subjects to talk about,
Yes.
sir. Well, probably coerce you into come and giving us an education on that aspect because as people don't talk about this particular thing. So this is an interesting. JBJP says most dangerous sign with Imran Khan is how Pashtuns in KPK, FATA, and Afghanistan have started to see Imran Khan as a Pashtun icon. Next, Abdali, who will rule over the Punjabis and thus the Sindhis. Do you see that, sir?
You see, first of all, let's be very clear. Is he a Pashtun or is he a Punjabi? He's from Miawali, a family long generations ago. They were even from Jalandhar, you know,
Yeah.
and they came and settled in Miawali. So he may push a lot of people in. Don't look upon him as a Pashtun. And this thing about Abdali, uh, he's 70 years old. Abdali was 17. When he was a general with in Nader Shah's army, and he led his horsemen. He was 17 or 19, or very, very young. This man is 70. He is a far cry from uh, Abdali, and then the concept of ruling over Punjab. Few people may see him as a Pashtun and be concerned about this. There was some report recently that came that the TTP was very upset that some Pashtun generals or Pashtun army officers had been sacked. And they said, we are sending 500 people to take care of the army or something. I don't think so, that he's seen as a Pashtun icon. When you talk about, as Imran Khan did, that he's a spokesman of the Taliban, or Taliban should be allowed to open up offices, and the TTP is not terrorists. The Pashtuns who have suffered as a result of the action of the TTP are not going to be sympathetic towards Imran Khan at all, which is bulk of them, because the kind of cruelties that the TTP has inflicted on the Pashtuns themselves. I mean, the biggest victims of the TTP and of the Taliban violence have been Pashtuns. So
And
here
that's
is this man who's trying to push himself as a Pashtun is not going to go very far. And he's
that's a
known as
flip.
Taliban Khan.
Yeah, that's a flip side people don't talk about, sir. Very interesting. I mean, I've literally never heard that before, and it's never, it's not come into the common jargon that there is a set of people who are not happy with what these so-called Pashtun guys are doing
Yeah.
within this entire thing. So Rahul
The
asked, so please.
ANP, the Awami National Party, for example, has opposed the TTP to the nail. That's why so many of their people have been killed.
Rahul asked an interesting question. So Middle East and Southeast Asia societies are intolerant towards democracy, so they are much happier in an authoritarian regime than in the free world. They won't challenge the establishment.
Which establishment? They,
The
Pa-
Pakistani, Pakistan, Middle East, and this the Messiah complex. The same
yeah.
similar question that he's asking, and he's saying that they will not challenge the establishment beyond a certain point.
You see, I think as the economic and social conditions deteriorate, and this is happening a worldwide phenomena as the economy shrink, and people are looking for a strong leader. So whether it's an Erdogan, whether a different kind of leadership in different parts of the world, it's not that they're against democracy. I think everybody would like to be able to exercise the right of franchise, but what they're looking for is a strong leader, with a decisive majority who's able to give them some space, some economic recovery, something to look forward to for their children. Similarly, in the Western societies too, people are looking for strong leaders. Somebody who can take them out of this crisis.
Is
One of the
that even
reasons for why
possible?
President Trump got such resonance in the US,
Yeah.
the right wing, because of the kind of strains in the society that would take. So I think this is a pretty much of a worldwide phenomenon.
Sorry about that. My dog always kind of creates a little trouble. Sorry about that, sir. Rahul asks, are the Pakistani people not angry with the elite and the rich civilians and their nexus within the army? They've mismanaged the economy and brought them to this point.
Certainly, they are upset with the politicians. That the fact that they have not been able to do anything for Pakistan for the last 70 years. Therefore, you find a lot of people now on television, vloggers especially, recollecting that they were Hindus 2 generations ago, and somebody claiming his forefathers came from Lucknow, or somebody came from these 2 generations ago, they were Sardars. People, these are different signals of how unhappy they are with the fact that they were not, their country has not been able to do well. So you will have, somebody in Australia I tweeted this, that, when Mr. Modi went over there, the kind of treatment he got, the kind of uh, how successful his visit was, and the longing. Why can't we? We were the same till 70 years ago, and what's gone wrong with us? So yes, they are angry with their leadership. Therefore, this Messiah complex, as you mentioned, looking for somebody who can bail them out. The army is got the blame for Imran Khan directly because it was seen that the army had got Imran Khan. But otherwise, they don't blame the army for the economic ills that they are facing. They blame the politicians. And Imran Khan used that to say that your ills are because everybody else was corrupt and I am Mr. Clean. But today they are being shown how unclean Mr. Clean is. People are saying Mudri Chor, the ring that he stole, or this Al Qadir Trust, which is now coming out, the Tosha Khana, the illegal donations to his political party, and so on and so forth. So the scales have fallen. People, the diehard supporters will continue. They will not believe any of this. But I think by the general public is concerned, they realize that Imran Khan too was not so. So it's not the army directly which is being blamed. The army is being very smart to keep a cushion between themselves and the people by politicians, except in the case of Imran Khan.
Last two questions, sir. Naveen has another interesting one. Sir, hasn't Imran Khan used army's own tactics on them? A parallel. India-Pakistan power asymmetry. So the army runs a proxy war in J&K, cries about it to the West, and as a pressure tactic to bring India to the negotiating table. Similarly, there's Imran Khan army power asymmetry. Imran Khan runs the proxy war, runs the propaganda in the Western media, but at the end, just like the army, Imran Khan lost.
But then the army wins, isn't it? Not just like the
No,
army, Imran
just
Khan.
like the army against India, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think to some extent the analogy is correct. Imran Khan wanted to use. In fact, you see, Imran Khan is not anti-army. I think one thing should be clear. He just wants that the army should be on his side.
That's
He's
it.
personally against Asim Munir because he thinks that Asim Munir is out to fix him. because of what he did to Asim Munir earlier. But he wants
Yeah.
the army to be on his side. When Bajwa said he is neutral, the army is neutral, he said only dogs are neutral. You cannot be neutral. You have to be on my side. So he wants to use the army, that he is the king. And it is his army, and the army must support him and do his bidding. So he is trying to use the army, just as the army, the thing which he gave about the to bring India to the negotiating table thing. Similarly, what now he says after sorry,
No problem, sir.
after attacking Asim Munir, he blandly says, "I don't know why he's upset with me." He just made a complete U-turn. He said, "I don't know why he's against me."
I have only problem with one person in Pakistan, that is the Chief of Army Staff, Asim Munir. I mean, what's
And
wrong with you?
unfortunately, if you have a problem with the chief, you have a problem with everybody else.
The entire army.
Yeah.
And the last question, which actually brings into my little thought that I was talking about, that I wanted to interject somewhere. So, why do politicians even contest elections when, right from 1947, every politician knows that he'll be either hanged or exiled or jailed before his term is over? All of them can't be fools.
Yes,
And then
but
you've
there
got
is there,
Shehbaz Sharif wants to sit there. Nawaz Sharif has dreams. And now, my favorite Bilorani has dreams about the same thing. What's this one is Messiah complex, understood. What is this, sir?
no. You see, because all politicians know the army cannot govern.
Yeah.
The army needs politicians. So each one would like to co-opt themselves with the army. That I'm in the one. You see, like Ayub Khan had Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Ziaul Haq had Muhammad Khan Junejo. Musharraf brought in that World Bank financial guy. I forget his name. Then he had Taj Mohammad Jalwali, Parvez Ilahi, all those people. Army cannot govern on its own. They need a civilian politician. So every politician says, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do it for you." And there is always hope while there is life that I'll be the one. I won't be hanged. I won't be exiled. I won't be jailed. So everybody thinks that they can help deliver the army, and in the process, fatten themselves, enrich themselves. And the army allows them to do it, and they keep files on them, and they blackmail. So this cycle has been going on and on and on. And it is precisely because the army cannot govern. The army is not trained to govern, you see. The army may enforce discipline. You see, the first martial law in Pakistan was in 1951 in Lahore, where there were anti-Ahmadiyya riots. The army was called in. Martial law was declared only in Lahore. The army controlled the situation within 2 days, but stayed on for another 2 months, in which they cleaned the streets, buses started running on time, people started coming out, to office on time. Everything just smartened and spruced up. So people said, yeah, if the army can control Lahore, they can control the rest of Pakistan. And the army also got the same lesson. But it was only for 2 months. When they were withdrawn, if the army stays on longer, they get corrupted. They also then become like politicians. They all start making money, fixing people, putting jobs and things like that. So it's never a good idea for the army to be into politics. But politicians would like the army to be on their side. That is a problem with Imran Khan. It's a problem with all politicians. Shehbaz Sharif wants the same thing. Nawaz Sharif was also brought in. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was also was a favorite of the Ayub Khan till he fell out with him.
Daddy. Interesting. So, this is why I call Pakistan also a certain amount of mystery, because one can't really put your finger on what's happening inside there, and it's a complex country. It's got a lot of history. It's got a lot of this thing, and it's got a lot of crazy reactions which are built into this particular country, and that's something which you would not see in today's world, but still happens in Pakistan because it's how the country has been wired, right from the beginning. I think your book about Pakistan, especially the first one, actually dwells upon this subject, that it's a
Yeah,
country which is, and that question is very interesting. Is it ungovernable, or is it made to be ungovernable, and it will
yeah,
always be like that? It's
yeah,
it's it's a mystery. One cannot figure out what's happening. Although I want to just close on this and ask you like a 30-second comment on this. You've got an army which is, of course, wanting the nation to kind of stay together and so that they can have their legitimacy and their golf courses and this and that. And a lot of it is to do with personal stuff. When that general is out of his office and out of the corps commanders conference and stuff like that, he is buying flats, he's playing golf, he's buying houses, he's this and that. And internally, guys, I'll just share something with you, which a little birdie came and told me is that Barbara just came back from Dubai and he bought a $12.7 million penthouse in the center of Dubai. So that's what they do. I
This is what
think,
Musharraf also did.
yeah. So
Musharraf, Kiani, everybody, yeah.
why doesn't the army just share the booty and say, okay, listen, we'll give you some money, shut up, sit down, calm it out?
Give some booty to the politicians.
Yeah.
The politicians want to make more. Politicians want to make more money for themselves.
Okay. I mean, mafia, let's just sit together and split it, like by fight with each other. That's what the families of, the mafias do.
Except that every politician, all prime ministers want to be in control. They want to run foreign policy. They want to run defense. They want to run the security policy. But the army says, sorry, you can't do that. You handle the economy, you handle the social issues, you handle agriculture and all that. But beyond a point, every prime minister wants to be fully in control. And then the army prevents them from doing that. And they know fully well before they become prime ministers that, look, this is the area. I can't do more than this. You have to accept that limitation to come into power in Pakistan. But after
And
2 years
nobody
in
does.
office, the H, it's a 2 year H in Pakistan every politician gets.
Yeah, and nobody does that because the army chief, smartly salutes him and yaar, ye to salute maar raha hai. So that thing. And that's the beauty of it. Imran Khan is a clear example of it.
Yeah.
Sir, thanks so much. This was an eye opener. Actually, when we are talking about a lot of rumors fly around, and I've read all the PTI narrative, I've read all the army narrative, trying to make sense of what is the reality in the middle, because one really doesn't know what it is. The army came out as a victim with the corps commander's house and stuff like that. The army came out as a victim with the GHQ and this and that. The Imran Khan is also, playing the victim card, and one really wonders what's the game in the middle and where will it lead to. Of course, nobody can predict that, but till now, whatever we've spoken in terms of an analysis of kudos, it's awesome, it's amazing, and you've actually put out certain fires which were burning around India and flying around on YouTube saying, nahi, 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 bus, now army is finished and this and that. And thank you for putting that out, sir. It's always a pleasure talking to you and learning from you. Till next time when I disturb you once again, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Aadi. It's great being on your show. And it was a very engaging and very interesting conversation. You put across some good questions. And I look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you, sir. A lot of people are saying, sir, your books are amazing. I've got a great admiration for you, and it gave me a solid base of understanding of the Pakistan. Thank you so much, sir. Some
Thank
comments
you.
in
Thank
that.
you very much. I'm glad people like the book too.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, people do, sir. Trust me. Thank you.
Okay.